بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره الكافرون صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وبعد. Most respected listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is the 16th episode of the thematic study of the Quran, which we have been making presentations on in this glorious month of Ramadan. In the last episode, the 15th episode, we started discussing a theme which is a very important one for that matter, and that is Maqasidul Quran, the higher objectives, the cardinal objectives of the Quran, of the Quranic mission. We were not able to conclude our discussion on this particular theme in the last episode, and therefore we thought it was important to conclude the discussion on this theme. For those that were with us in the last episode, we presented Dr. Taha Jabir Al-Alwani's three broad maqasidul Quran. However, before the presentation of those three broad maqasid, that is objectives, we stated that there is the general objective of the Quranic mission or of the Quran, that is guidance to mankind. Guidance to mankind. Now, this is the general and all-encompassing objective of the Quran, that it came to guide mankind and the jinn alike. Like we stated, we read the verse from Surah Al-Baqarah, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. The Quran was revealed in Ramadan, and it was revealed for the purpose of guiding mankind. So this is the general objective of the Quranic mission. And therefore we made the point that all other objectives would all be subsumed under this general objective. And then we started enumerating them, beginning with Dr. Taha Jabir Al-Alwani's identification of three broad objectives. The first is At-Tawheed. The Quran came to teach the world At-Tawheed, the oneness of God, His unity in existence, and His oneness in His desire to be worshipped as the only deity worthy of worship. And we said from the beginning of the Quran to its end, this particular subject matter of Tawheed runs through the entire Quran. You can say that each and every chapter of the Quran, contains teaching of Tawheed. No doubt about this. Then the second broad objective which we identified, which Taha Jabir al-Alwani identified, is what he calls a tazkiyah, purification, which we took time actually to explain the concept of purification from the Quranic perspective, identifying its different dimensions, identifying also its different perspectives, and so on and so forth. And then the last one of the three broad objectives which were presented by Al-Alwani is Al-Umran. Al-Umran. Al-Umran means cultivating life on earth. هو أنشأكم من الأرض واستعمركم فيها. He is the one that created you on earth and charged you to cultivate life, to build life in this world, on earth. Now we were explaining this when time caught up with us. We couldn't finish it. I was explaining that this is important. This particular point is important, especially because Islam has been vilified and has been demonized by enemy media. And because of Islamophobia, Islam has been demonized to the extent that in some places, once you mention Islam, it is looked as if it is synonymous with killing and destruction. And of course, because of the action of some misguided folks within the Muslim, fold. So people that are ignorant about Islam have taken Islam as a religion of killings and destructions. And therefore, this particular objective of Umran, that is cultivating life, building life, and establishing civilization, is an objective of the Quran. We read verses in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, actually prohibited committing fasad, that is corruption and destruction on earth. Wallahu la yuhibbul fasad. Allah does not like corruption and destruction. This was the end of a verse we read from Surah Al-Baqarah, where Allah says, وَإِذَا تَوَلَّى سَعَى فِي الْأَرْضِ لِيُفْسِدَ فِيهَا وَيُهْلِكَ الْحَرْثَ وَالنَّسَلَ وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْفَسَادِ. If he gets power on earth, he goes on, killing and destroying the flora and fauna, plants and animals, that is destroying life on earth. Allah does not like destruction and fasad. So the Quran actually came to cultivate life. And there are verses, there are some chapters in the Quran which actually depict this particular objective. Several, chapters of the Quran. When you take Surah Al-Nahl, for example, Surah Al-Nahl, that is chapter 16 of the Quran, you would see, verses in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about life, right from the beginning of the surah. For example, Allah says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ata amrullahi fala tasta'jilu. That the affairs of Allah has come. That is to say, the decision of Allah has come. And fala tasta'jilu, don't hasten it. This is a reference to some kuffar who were talking of, if what the Prophet ﷺ was teaching or was preaching was true, let the wrath of Allah come to them. وَقَالُوا رَبَّنَا أَجِّلْ لَنَا قِتَّنَا قَبْلَ يَوْمِ الْحِسَابِ. That this is the way they threaten, the Prophet ﷺ, فَأَمْتِرْ عَلَيْنَا حِجَارَةً مِنَ السَّمَاءِ أَوْ ائْتِنَا بِعَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. That is why Allah is saying, أَتَى أَمْرُ اللَّهِ فَلَا تَسْتَعْجِلُوا. Way into the verse, into the chapter, Allah was saying, وَالْخَيْلَ والبغال والحمير لتأكلوها وتحمل أثقالكم إلى بلد لم تكونوا بالغيه إلا بشق الأنفس إن ربكم لرؤوف رحيم والخيل والبغال والحمير لتركبوها وزينة ويخلق ما لا تعلمون وعلى الله قصد السبيل ومنها جائر ولو شاء لهداكم أجمعين والله جعل لكم من بيوتكم سكنا way into the verse وجعل لكم من جلود الأنعام بيوتا تستخفونها يوم زعنكم ويوم إقامتكم ومن أصوافها وأوبارها وأشعارها أثاثا ومتاعا إلى حين والله جعل لكم مما خلق ظلالا وجعل لكم من الجبال أكنانا وجعل لكم سرابيل تقيكم الحر وسرابيل تقيكم بأسكم كذلك يتم نعمته عليكم لعلكم تشكرون. You see, verses like this which are talking about life and civilization. So the Quran has come to teach the world about cultivating life and building life, building civilization. That is al-umran, al-hadara. That is civilization. At-tamaddun. That is urbanization. Allah tells us the story of Zulqarnain is also a story of umran. That is cultivated life. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنْ ذِي الْقَرْنَيْنِ قُلْ سَأَتْلُو عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْهُ ذِكْرًا إِنَّا مَكَّنَّا لَهُ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. So the story of Qarun in the Quran is a story of Umran. That is how to cultivate life, build life and establish cities and civilizations. The same thing when you read Surah Saba, chapter 34 of the Quran. لَقَدْ كَانَ لِسَبَإٍ فِي مَسْكَنِهِمْ آيَةٌ جَنَّتَانِ عَنْ يَمِينٍ وَالشِّمَالِ كُلُوا مِنْ رِزْقِ رَبِّكُمْ وَاشْكُرُوا لَهُ بَلْدَةٌ طَيِّبَةٌ وَرَبٌّ غَفُورٌ. Up to the end of the story, you can see the Quran actually has come to build life, has come to cultivate life and build civilization. When you take family laws as enunciated and as presented in Surah An-Nisa and you put them together with the family laws as presented in Surah An-Nur, when you take, family laws as presented in Surah Al-Talaq and bring them together with those ones presented in Surah Al-Baqarah, you can see that Islam is about Umran. It is, the beginning, the nucleus of human community, or the unit of human community is the family. The family needs to be protected. The family is sacrosanct in Islam. That is why all these laws run from Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Nisa'i, Surah Al-Nur, Surah Al-Talaq, Surah Al-Ahzab, all these are meant to protect the family, because once the family is destroyed, the entire human society is destroyed. So you can see how the Quran teaches the world about Umran. And then, laws regarding trade, business and trade presented in the Quran, laws regarding, leadership and statecraft. Leadership and statecraft. These are all aspects of Umran. And these are also presented in a number of verses. Surah Al-Baqarah. You see, Surah Yusuf is teaching about leadership and and human relations. The same thing about Surah Al-Hujurat, how we relate, how we should relate with the leader, and then how we should also relate with our own selves. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكون خيرا منهن ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان. Up to the other places where Allah talks about against backbiting and gossiping, and then look at the verse that talks about global human relationship. Global human relationship, the unity of mankind. Ya ayyuhan nasu, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum shu'uban وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلِيمٌ خَبِيرٌ. O you mankind, we created you from a single man and a single woman. And from the two, we created many men and many women, and we made you into nations and ethnic groups and tribes. We made you into different races. Lita'arafu, so that you know one another. That is to say, so that you relate, positively with one another. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The most honorable of you, Allah says, is the one who is most pious among you, who is most conscious of Allah amongst you. Allah is all-knowing, all-conversant. I think this much we have spoken about Umran at length, and with this, I believe listeners and watchers, viewers, would be able to appreciate this concept of Umran as an objective of the Quran. However, before we conclude this subject matter of Maqasid al-Quran, let me quickly present Al-Qardawi's 7-point Maqasid al-Quran. While Dr. Taha Jabir Al-Alwani presented those 3 broad objectives, At-Tawheed, At-Tazkiyah, and Al-Umran, Yusuf Al-Qardawi, Sheikh Yusuf Al-Qardawi, rahimahullah, he died several months ago. Dr. Taha Jabir Al-Alwani also died a few years back, rahimahumallah. Now, Sheikh Al-Qardawi, unlike Al-Alwani, presented a 7-point maqasid. But if we look at those 7-point maqasid presented by Al-Qardawi, we would see that all of them could be subsumed under those 3 broad maqasid by Al-Alwani. For example, the first one, which Al-Qardawi stated, is correction of creeds, beliefs and worldviews and perceptions of life. That the Quran came to correct creeds. Now this can fall under Tawheed. This falls under Tawheed. For example, to illustrate this particular point, the Quran, first of all taught the Arabs and the world that idols should not be worshipped. Now, some of the polytheists used to say that they do take these idols as intermediaries to God. But God said he should be worshipped directly without intermediaries. This is a correction of creed and perception. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَوْلِيَاءَ مَا نَعْبُدُهُمْ إِلَّا لِيُقَرِّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ زُلْفَى. They say we don't worship them because we feel because we believe that they created the world or they are able to make creations. No, but we worship them because we want them to serve as intermediaries between us and God, so that they will take us to closer to God. Meaning that God is so supreme that you cannot worship him directly, or you cannot approach him. You cannot supplicate to him directly except through intermediaries. But Allah is saying, no, you don't need any intermediary to supplicate to God. وَنَحَنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. Allah said, we are closer to man than even his jugular veins. So you don't need any intermediary. The Prophet ﷺ, when he had the companions supplicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala openly, he said to them, look, you are not supplicating to the deaf or to the dumb. You are supplicating to the all-hearing and to the all-seeing. I mean, to the deaf and the dumb. So you are not praying unto a person who does not hear or is not able to speak. You are talking to, a being that is very close to you, and he hears even the whispers in your heart. like we were saying in one of the episodes when we talk about the concept of God in the Quran, that Allah hears everything, including the steps of a black ant on a black rock in a dark night. When an ant is walking in a dark night on a black rock and the ant is black, Allah sees it and He hears it. So Allah is close to each and every one of us. You can pray directly unto Allah without any intermediary. Another correction of creeds that the Quran made is when they say that, angels are female children of God. Angels are female children of God. This is wrong. Allah says in Surah An-Najm, that is chapter 53 of the Quran, says, Allah replies them when they say that the female children belong to God, or they take them for females, but they don't have any knowledge in this regard. In yattabi'una illa dhann, they follow nothing but conjectures. These are just examples of correction of creeds that the Quran came to make, which all can be subsumed under Tawheed. Now, the second objective, according to Al-Qardawi, is honoring humanity and protection of human rights. Honoring humanity and protection of human rights. Allah, the Quran declares, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ وَرَزَقْنَاهُمْ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا تَفْضِيلًا. In Surah Al-Isra, chapter 17 of the Quran, that we indeed honored the son of Adam. We raised them, or we held them on land and sea, and we enriched them with our bounties, and we preferred them with marked preferment among all our creatures. So you can see the Quran came to honor humanity, and there are different examples of honoring humanity in the Quran, but this can be a theme that we will come and take up, inshallah, later in one of our episodes. That is honoring humanity and protection of human rights in the Quran. Then injunction of worship, to worship Allah and fear Him and be conscious of Him. وَعَبُدُ اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. Verses like this, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ. Injunctions to worship Allah, purification of the human soul. This falls under tazkiyah. You can see honoring humanity and protection of human rights can fall under tazkiyah. It can also fall under umran. Purification of the human soul automatically falls under tazkiyah, as presented by Al-Alwani. Establishing the family and ensuring justice to the woman. This, we counted this under, umran, but it can also fall under, tazkiyah, because establishing the family and ensuring justice for the woman. Establishing the family would mean protecting and shielding society from sexual promiscuity and sexual anarchy. That is to say, curbing zina, fornication and adultery. This falls under, purification of human society. You can see how, Western world, because the family is becoming increasingly destroyed and corrupted, such that, so sexual promiscuity and sexual anarchy is is holding sway of the society, such that there are some statistics that are saying that in some of the Western countries, in every 3 children, 1 is an illicit child. In every 3 children, 1 is an illicit child. That is, born outside, family wedlock. Then building ummah of shahada, the witnessing ummah, the witness bearing ummah over mankind. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ وَيَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا. This ummah of shahada means ummah of leadership. That is so the objective of the Quran one of the objectives of the Quran, according to Al-Qardawi here, means that it has come to, raise the position of believers in Allah to position from the position of lowliness and downtroddenness to a position of leadership in the world. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nasi ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. Chapter 2, Surah Ali Imran. And then the final last objective of the Quran, according to Al-Qardawi, is call or invitation to a harmonious world based on mutual cooperation and mutual interdependence. Now, this can also fall under Umran, because this is about cultivating and building peace in the world, harmonious coexistence in the world, and curtailing hostility in the world. The verse we read in Surah Al-Hujurat, chapter 49 of the Quran, Ya ayyuhan nasu inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu inna akramakum indallahi atqakum indallaha alimun khabir. This verse, you can see, teaches us about harmonious coexistence. There is another verse in Surah Al-Zukhruf, that is chapter 43 of the Quran, Surah Al-Zukhruf, where Allah says, أهم يقسمون رحمة ربك نحن قسمنا بينهم معيشتهم في الحياة الدنيا ورفعنا بعضهم فوق بعض درجات ليتخذ بعضهم بعضا سخريا وَرَحْمَةُ رَبِّكَ خَيْرٌ مِّمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ. That Allah raise some of you above others, that you may take others, a section of you may interdepend on on others, mutual interdependence in the society, so that the society will continue. We have to stop at this point, but this concludes our discussion on the maqasid al-Quran. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Quran al-Azim. ونفعني وإياكم بما فيه من الآيات والذكر الحكيم وسبحانك اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.